My name is Christina. I'm 31, eldest daughter, and the one who learned early to be useful instead of visible. I'm a stockbroker. Numbers, screens, calm voice on volatile days. In my family, though, none of that made me the golden one. That was my younger sister, Hannah, born with a smile that excused the mess behind her. I was the insurance policy, the fixer, the one who understood money, which meant I could be tapped like an ATM if the right guilt words were used. I grew up in a house where praise was loud and criticism was quiet but constant. Dad loved to say, "Hannah's got heart. Christina has spreadsheets." Mom would laugh like it was a joke. It wasn't. It was a rule. If Hannah wanted cleats, she got the best. If I wanted a calculator for AP math, I got a lecture on not flaunting how bookish I was. I learned to stay small, to plan, to breathe through the long dinners, where my sister's stories got standing ovations and my news got a polite nod. By 27, I had my Series 7, a tiny apartment, and a habit of working through holidays because markets don't care about family schedules. At 29, I moved desks to a better team. At 30, I built a book from nothing. Clients stayed because I answered their calls at 7:03 a.m. and again at 11:49 p.m. My P&L was the only applause I needed. Still, I went home for birthdays and Sunday roasts and those long, slow afternoons where Dad lectured about real people doing real work. Then asked me to move money around for Hannah's latest idea. I said yes more often than I should have because saying no turned into World War II in a kitchen that smelled like lemon cleaner and resentment. 2 months ago, I got promoted officially. Senior Vice President Equities. Unofficially, the person my boss paged first when the market tanked. I texted the family chat out of habit. Mom replied with confetti emojis and is so proud of you, honey. Dad sent about time. Hannah sent a thumbs up and a link to her new channel where she was documenting the grind and also dropping merch soon. They planned a dinner. Our treat, Mom said. Nice place. Suit required, Dad added. I should have known the script. I should have read the weather. I put on the good navy suit anyway. The restaurant had white tablecloths and lighting that made everyone look expensive. The waiter said, "Congratulations," as he poured water. Mom dabbed at her eyes. "My big girl," she said. Dad cleared his throat like a speech was coming. Hannah angled her phone for a candid shot. I practiced the smile people post under promotions on LinkedIn. Grateful, humble, tired. The first course hadn't arrived when Mom pulled a thick envelope from her purse. Cream paper. My name in my father's handwriting. "From the whole family," she said like it was a bouquet. Dad folded his hands. Hannah lifted her phone higher. I opened it. Disownment is a cold word when it's printed on legal letterhead. Inside were bullet points, conditions, a list of assets and assistance never rendered, phrased like I'd stolen air from their lungs. A paragraph about willing severance of familial ties, signed by both parents. A notary stamp tilted like a bruise. "Smile," Hannah said softly. "Camry up." It's for my followers. The Hard Truth series. For once, I didn't perform. I just nodded. I folded the papers back into the envelope, tucked it into my jacket, stood up, and set my napkin down. Mom's voice followed me. "Christina, don't be dramatic." Dad's was flatter. "Just take it, Christina," Hannah recorded. A couple at the next table pretended not to watch. The waiter froze with the tray of bread like a statue in a play. I walked out. On the sidewalk, the air was cold enough to sting. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even surprised. The surprise had happened weeks earlier in a quiet office at 8:12 p.m. with a call I'll never forget. That was when I realized how much of me they'd already spent. That was when I started making a list of what mattered and what could be sold. And no, I'm not talking about stocks. The thing about being the responsible one is that people mistake reliability for infinite capacity. When you don't flinch, they stack more on. When you don't complain, they assume you're fine. That's how I ended up covering Hannah's overdraft at 22, her bridge loan at 24, her emergency rent at 26, and her one-time only business pivot at 28. The amount started as hundreds and grew into 5 figures that were no big deal to you, Christina. Family helps family, Dad said every time. Just until she's on her feet, Mom added, as if Hannah had ever stood without leaning. I kept spreadsheets because that's who I am. columns for dates, amounts, stated reasons, actual reasons. I didn't add interest. I didn't ask for repayments. I kept the file in a folder named tax documents so I wouldn't have to explain it to anyone. At 30, Hannah went all in on content. Podcast, vlogs, lives about hustle culture, recorded from Dad's leather chair. She called herself a founder. The thing she founded was a hole in the family budget. Views were low, then high, then low again. She asked me to sponsor an episode. Be a cool big sis, she said. Win-win. I said no. She texted, money makes you cruel. Mom called 2 minutes later. Christina, she's sensitive. Dad sent me a video of Hannah at a ring light saying, sis, people don't get it. The caption was, people who invest in you are the only ones who matter. I muted notifications and stared at my ceiling and thought about how easy it is to confuse attention with respect. Work was simple by comparison. The market is rude but honest. It punishes fairy tales and rewards discipline. When I got tapped for SVP, it wasn't because anyone liked me. It was because my calls were right more often than not, and because I knew when to cut a loss. My boss shook my hand and said, dry eyes, Fisk, now build. That night, Mom called at 10:41 p.m. Your father and I are so happy. We knew you had it in you. Then a pause. So on that note, I closed my eyes. It's just Hannah's car, she said. The bank is being so unforgiving. If we could move some things around. Mom, no. Silence on the line. Then her voice got buttery. Don't let this position make you arrogant. I've heard versions of that sentence my whole life. It works like a dog whistle. Translation. Do what we want and do it with a smile. I said, I've been arrogant exactly 0 times. I've been a wallet. Wow. She said to your own mother. Dad called an hour later. His voice was clean, like he'd been rehearsing. Christina, Hannah needs $18,400 to stop a repo. We'll pay you back in some time. Don't be petty about family. Stop using that word. I said petty means I'm asking small. I'm asking big for you to treat me like a person. Don't raise your voice. I'm not. The phone made my apartment feel smaller. I'm telling you I can't do this anymore. Dad exhaled. You think that title makes you a queen? I hung up before I said the thing I wanted to say, that a queen is allowed to say no, but a daughter in our family isn't allowed to say anything. The next day, Hannah posted a story. Some people only help when it benefits them. She added a song about snakes. She tagged no one and everyone. Then came the second call, the one at 8:12 p.m., from an unknown number with a pleasant voice that belonged to a loan officer. Ms. Fisk? You're a listed reference on an application. We just need to verify a few details regarding your sister's income and your willingness to guarantee. I stared at the blinds. I didn't consent to be a guarantor. There's a signed document here with your name. Send it. She did. I printed it and sat with the page spread on my desk, my signature traced from somewhere. The numbers were ugly. It wasn't a car. It was a consolidation. Credit cards Hannah had described as small rolled into a boulder. He'd faked my permission. She'd used me not just as a wallet, but as a shield. I took the stairs down to the street and walked until the cold cut through the noise in my head. People talk about betrayal like it's dramatic. All caps, fireworks. It's not. It's smaller. It's a simple math problem suddenly turning into a lie. It's realizing your name is a tool other people think they own. I didn't call anyone that night. I made tea. I didn't drink. I opened that old spreadsheet. I added a row. Unauthorized guarantee attempt. Amount $62,900. Reason. Because she could. The next morning, I told my firm's legal about the forged signature because ethics is a thing when your job is moving other people's money. Then I sent Hannah a text. Remove my name from anything. Now, she replied with a shrug emoji. Then, big sis, relax. I didn't relax. I got quiet. Quiet is where I do my best thinking. Meanwhile, the family campaign ramped up. Mom's messages got syrupy. We miss you. Dad's got moral. Don't abandon your blood. Hannah's got cinematic. I'll pay you back when the brand pops off. You'll be sorry you doubted me. I muted all 3. 3 days later, Mom announced the promotion dinner, a family celebration. She said, make time. I tried to say I had work. She said, make time. When the envelope appeared at the restaurant, it wasn't random. It was pressure dressed as paperwork. They turned me into a plot twist for my sister's channel, a villain, a lesson about how money corrupts. I walked out with the letter in my jacket and a list in my head that was getting very, very short. I didn't sleep the night after the restaurant. Not from rage, from clarity. The next morning, I was at my desk by 6:50 a.m. Screens lighting up one by one. My team drifted in. The floor hummed. I pressed the envelope flat on the desk and read every line again. The tone was legal but childish. One section detailed property acquired during dependence. Another declared me emotionally negligent. It was theater with a notary stamp. At 9:03 a.m., Hannah's video went live. When success splits a family. She cut my exit into slow motion. She layered a piano track. She cried on cue. The comments rolled in. Sis, you didn't deserve that. She changed. Money makes people cold. I turned the volume down and did my job. Bought what needed buying. Sold what needed selling. Kept 3 anxious clients from doing something dumb. When the bell closed, I shut my laptop and picked up my phone. Mom, we shouldn't have surprised you with the letter. Come to Sunday dinner. We'll talk it out. Dad, being offended doesn't change facts. You owe Hannah. We can fix this on camera. Narrative control. That last one made me laugh out loud in a conference room. On camera. Narrative control. I saw it clear. They didn't want me back. They wanted footage. I texted no. She sent back 12 messages in a row, escalating from pseudo-wise, pride is expensive, sis, to threatening, then don't cry later. I put my phone face down. I thought about being 16 and fixing Dad's ancient spreadsheet while he told me how people provide. I thought about Mom's voice the day I got into college. Good, but don't start acting like you're better. I thought about Hannah at 19 saying, cover me this one time. We were 12, one times past that. Saturday came. I cleaned my apartment, took a long run, showered, and sat on the floor with a stack of files. Not the investment kind, the real kind. Birth certificate, old tax returns. That spreadsheet printed out, staple stabbing the corner, the disownment letter on top. I added a yellow sticky note. You wanted legal? Okay. I drove to my parents' neighborhood Sunday afternoon. I didn't park in the driveway. I parked down the block and walked, hands in pockets. The way you walk into a storm you've already decided to stand through. I rang the bell. I could hear chatter inside, then footsteps. Mom opened the door with her nice company smile. It dropped when she saw I was alone. No boyfriend, she said like a joke. No entourage, Dad called from the kitchen. If you're here to apologize, be quick. We're eating. Hannah swung around the hallway corner with her phone in her hand, thumb poised. We go live in 5, she said. I said, no, we don't. Mom spread her arms as if we were embracing. This can be fixed with a conversation. Great, I said. I held up the envelope. Let's have one. We sat in the living room. The house smelled like roast and furniture polish. The mantel had Hannah's plaque from a high school award night and none of my anything. That used to feel like a dare. Now it felt like proof. Mom motioned to the couch. We did what we did out of love. That letter isn't love. I said it's leverage. Dad leaned forward, elbows on knees, the way he does when he's about to deliver a sermon. You have resources. Your sister needs support. You've forgotten where you came from. Hannah raised her phone. Let's start with accountability. Christina, say I. I put the phone down with 2 fingers. No cameras. Why are you afraid of truth? She said. I'm not. I looked at each of them one at a time. I'm done paying for lies. Dad's jaw tensed. We gave you everything. You gave me a roof and lessons on being small, I said quietly. I gave you money. Here are the numbers. I slid the printed spreadsheet across the table. Rows and rows. Dates, amounts, reasons. The golden child lit by fluorescent debt. Mom didn't touch it. This is tacky. It's accurate. Hannah snorted. You keep receipts on your own family. That's extreme. You forged my signature? I said we went still. You could hear the clock tick. What? Mom said too fast. The consolidation loan. I set down the printout from the bank. My signature on your form. It isn't mine. Legal at my firm has the original. They also have the stat from the restaurant in case you try to edit the story. Dad stood up. You watch your mouth. No, I said. My voice surprised me with how even it was. This is me watching my boundary. I folded the disownment letter open and put it on top of the stack. You wanted to cut me off. Let's make it mutual. Mom's eyes went shiny with anger. Don't do this. It's already done. I looked at Hannah. You can't use my name. Not for credit, not for clout, not for narrative. Take down the video. She scoffed. Make me. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. The sentence felt like a lock clicking. You want to know the real reason I walked out at the restaurant without shouting? Because the decision was older than that envelope. Because I already sold something you thought you owned. They stared. Hannah tried to guess. What? Your shares in decency. I stood. My obligation to fix you. I didn't slam the door. I didn't do anything dramatic. I left the same way I'd lived in that house, quietly on my own 2 feet. By the time I got back to my apartment, my phone had mutated into a siren. 42 missed calls, 61 texts, a voice message from Mom that started with tears and ended with insults. 2 from Dad, both versions of "you're making this bigger than it is." 10 from Hannah, a highlight reel of manipulation. You ruined Sunday. You're jealous. I'm posting everything. Lawyer says you don't have a case. You'll be back. I put the phone in a drawer and made pasta like a normal person. I ate standing up in my kitchen, listening to the radiator click. I slept the best I had in months. Monday morning, HR emailed me. Someone had called a family member attempting to report me for insider behavior. The compliance team already knew I'd briefed them the week of the forged signature. The report was dismissed in 11 minutes. If you want to understand how angry people behave when you stop feeding them, there's your case study. They try to set your house on fire with rumors and then act surprised when the sprinklers work. Hannah's video doubled in views, then tripled. The comments got uglier. I didn't read them. I blocked and went for a run. Halfway through mile 2, I realized I was smiling. Not because any of this was fun, because I had finally done the thing my job trained me to do. Cut a loss early enough that it doesn't eat your future. 3 days later, a letter arrived, this time from my lawyer to theirs. It was short. It said the forged signature had been reported. It said any use of my name and financial instruments without my consent would be pursued. It said the defamatory content in the video was being documented. It didn't roar. It didn't threaten. It was calm, which is worse if you're the kind of person who thinks noise equals power. Mom texted, "How could you sick lawyers on your own mother?" I wrote back, "I didn't. I defended myself." Dad called from a block number. "You think money protects you?" "No," I said. "Boundaries do." He hung up. Here's the part I didn't expect. The emptiness where daily drama used to be. It felt like when the market closes and the screens go dark. At first, your hands keep twitching, waiting for another alert. Then your shoulders drop. Then you notice silence is not nothing. It's space. I filled it with small things. New towels. A citrus plant that would probably die under my care and then didn't. I started sitting in a cafe before work and not looking at a screen for 20 minutes. I called clients back at reasonable hours. I didn't apologize for not being a 24/7 machine. My boss said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." On Friday, the firm announced my promotion publicly. LinkedIn did its thing. The likes, the well-deserved, the acquaintances asking to pick my brain. Then came a DM from a name I hadn't seen since college, Gary. He dated Hannah for 2 years pre-content. The message was 3 lines. "She's been using your name to threaten vendors. My brother on Wall Street will ruin you. I'm sorry. I thought you should know." I wrote, "Thank you. Then you don't owe me for her choices." Saturday morning, my doorman handed me a thick envelope, same cream paper, no return address. Inside, a second letter from my parents' lawyer, bizarrely cheerful, withdrawing the disownment. After reflection, the family would like to rescind prior statements. It read like a press release written by people who learned empathy from TV. There were 2 handwritten notes tucked in. "Moms, we were emotional. Come Sunday, I'll make lamb. Dads, enough theatrics. Shake hands and move on." I stared at the page and felt nothing but the steady clock of my own pulse. I put the letter with the first one in a clear folder labeled Family Documents and filed it next to my lease. Hannah's channel went quiet for a week. Then she posted a new video, accountability update. She didn't name me. She talked about toxic family structures and breaking cycles. She turned off comments. She posted a photo of a new mic. She started a Patreon. She messaged me. We cool? No, I wrote back. We're done. She called immediately. Don't do this. We can benefit each other. How? I asked. You could come on my pod, talk about finance. People love sisters with different vibes. Hannah, I said, and the sadness in my voice surprised me. You can't see me unless I'm useful. Silence. Then the small voice she used when she was 8, trying not to cry after Dad yelled. So never. I hope you figure yourself out, I said, but I'm not your ladder. Click. Weeks passed. The texts slowed. The calls dropped to 0. What stayed were the habits I was building without them. I cooked the same breakfast every day. I went to bed before midnight. I stopped proving I was useful to people who used me. That freed up more time than I expected. In that extra time, I finally sold what needed selling. You thought it was my stocks. It wasn't. I kept those. What I sold was the narrative, quietly, cleanly, to myself. I took the version of me that my family wrote, the one where I'm the resource, the background, the sure thing, and I cashed it out. I replaced it with a new line item person. I put it in my internal portfolio labeled non-negotiables. Around then, my Aunt Ruth called, the one relative who never asked for $1 and always brought actual food to holidays. Haven't heard your voice, she said. You okay? I'm lighter, I said. Good, she said. Remember, a no is a full sentence. Did Mom send you? I sent myself, she said. Also, please eat something besides eggs and coffee. We laughed. I hung up and cooked actual vegetables because Aunt Ruth is the only person I'll take orders from. Not everything was neat. A cousin DM'd me to say Dad had been complaining at a barbecue that I'd turned snobby. A neighbor told me Mom cried in the grocery store about how Christina abandoned us in our time of need. I didn't chase those fires. I let people believe whatever made sense to them. I'd wasted too much time managing perceptions. It's exhausting work pretending to be someone's villain so they can feel like a hero. On a Tuesday, I got an email from my firm's pro bono arm about a financial literacy workshop at a community center. I said yes. Saturday morning, I stood in a room with 20 people who wanted to understand budgets and credit reports. I drew boxes on a whiteboard. I said sentences I needed to hear at 18. Your budget is your boundary. If they don't respect it, they don't respect you. Someone in the back raised a hand. What if they are your mom? Especially then, I said, and the room laughed, the kind of laugh that means we're all tired of the same thing. On my way out, a guy my age stopped me. You talk like someone who survived family drama. I did. I said, any tips? Start small. Track the asks. Say one no. Tell yourself it's allowed to feel awful and keep going. He nodded like he'd been waiting for permission. I thought of Hannah staring at a ring light, of Dad at the kitchen table, arms folded, of Mom holding a letter like a gift. It hit me how much of my life had been arranged around not making other people uncomfortable. I walked home in the thin winter sun, bought oranges on the corner, and didn't check my phone for 2 hours. The last message I got from my mother was short. Sunday dinner at 5. Your seat is always here. It used to be a hook. This time it was just a sentence on a screen. I typed, no, thank you. I didn't explain. Explanations are just invitations to argue. I didn't explain. Explanations are just invitations to argue. Dad never wrote again. Hannah posted a video about rebirth, then pivoted to reviewing gadgets. I stopped checking. People kept telling me updates like it was news I needed. I didn't. My life moved forward in the small ways that matter. I lifted more than I scrolled. I saved for things I actually wanted. I started sleeping on clean sheets because I washed them on Thursdays, not when I felt guilty. When I think about the restaurant now, the envelope, the camera, the entire performance, I don't feel the heat I felt that night. I feel cool air on my face outside the door and a strange gratitude that they said the quiet part out loud. It made my decision honest. If there's a moral, it's not dramatic, it's boring, which is how you know it's true. Here it is. People who love you don't make you a ledger. People who love you don't require you to bleed to prove your loyalty. And if they do, you're allowed to close the account. My name is Christina. I'm 31. I'm a stockbroker. I am no one's emergency exit. I don't owe anyone my ruin. I won't participate in my own extraction. I won't be filmed while I'm being drained. I'm not seeking revenge. I don't need apology speeches or tearful reunions over overcooked lamb. I needed closure, and I gave it to myself. I drew a line and stood on my side of it. I won't let anyone spin me without consent again. I won't let them rename my no as cruelty. I won't let guilt dress up as love and move into my life rent-free. I'm building something quieter than a viral clip and sturdier than a notarized demand. It looks like a Tuesday where I go to work, come home, text Aunt Ruth a photo of the citrus tree, answer a client's question without panic, and fall asleep before midnight. It looks like a life that finally belongs to me. I keep the spreadsheets for me now, not for them. Columns for dates, amounts, stated reasons, actual reasons, just as I always did, but they live in a folder labeled personal clarity. I check in with myself, not my family. I pay attention to my energy, my time, my boundaries. I've learned that saying no doesn't collapse the world, it reshapes it. And in that reshaping, I find freedom. I invest in myself the way I once invested in Hannah, only now the returns are measured in peace, in focus, in the kind of joy that can't be posted to a channel or measured in likes. Occasionally, I see Hannah's videos. I don't comment. I don't watch for the betrayal, the manipulation, the attempts to draw me back. I notice the production quality, the editing, the growth, and then I close the tab. That's enough. Aunt Ruth calls every Sunday. We cook together, we laugh, we talk about the things that actually matter. I take walks without checking my phone. I read books that aren't about strategy or finance. I build spreadsheets that matter only to me, charting growth in self-care, relationships I choose, habits I maintain. Sometimes the old voices echo, the confetti emojis, the passive-aggressive texts, the sense that I'm supposed to perform, but I don't answer. I watch the echo fade. My life is my own ledger now. My successes are mine, my failures are mine, my joy is mine. No one else gets to audit them. The promotion, it still exists. The raise, still in my bank account. The numbers, still clean, precise, honest. But now they exist alongside boundaries, alongside clarity, alongside the freedom to choose which parts of my life I invest in and which parts I cash out. I am Christina. I am 31. I am visible when I want to be, silent when I need to be, and untouchable in the ways that matter. My story is no longer a performance. It's a ledger closed, a narrative reclaimed, a life finally in my hands. And that is the quiet victory I never expected. The one that doesn't need a camera, a comment, or a legal signature. The one that just is. I am free.